Let's do this. I know nothing about Arknights. I was exploring a lobotomy corporation branch when my consciousness sinks into the depths. The sense of cognition itself, a concept without form, floats into the shadow of an ever-widening river, swept up in its currents to nowhere. When we ran into an abnormality, but Sod told us that Hong Yuan's Lobotomy Corp branch should be free of any abnormalities. The abnormality which had appeared out of nowhere was more otherworldly than we'd encountered so far in our journey, and deep blue. It was fathomlessly blue, and seemed to have a pull that endlessly drew us into itself. Just as I was about to recall this abnormality, a myriad of sceneries and a flood of incalculable thoughts crashed into my mind like wild waves before ebbing away from its shores. I was already lost in a drift somewhere within my own consciousness when I realized this. Just how long am I going to be adrift? The sensation of my own consciousness floating away is quite the unfamiliar one. I floated about in that strange state for a while. An unfamiliar voice seizes my aimlessly drifting consciousness. Are you Dante? The fog of my vision clears as the voice breaks through the waves, and a concerned expression comes into view. Yes, I am. Ah, what a relief. Gregor, I think Dante has come too. Okay, so they came here earlier. So who are... I was about to ask further questions to this stranger with a particularly long animal-like ears, but passes it again. I felt the drowsiness coursing back with the terrifying memories of the dream, rendering me unable to speak. I have to get a hold of myself. After an indeterminate amount of time had passed, I barely managed to wake myself from slumber to get a grasp of my surroundings, only to find myself surrounded by unfamiliarities. There was that stranger from earlier, sitting atop a rock and silently taking in the sights. A young girl who probably saved my life. Wait, so were those animal ears after all? Okay, that's not important right now. I have to prioritize figuring out just where in the world I ended up in. So we're standing by the Iberian coastline. How are you feeling? A little out of it, but I'm okay otherwise. Iberia, huh? Yes, we're in Iberia. Definitely know what that means. Definitely. If you can't tell, I'm lying. Well, given that we're next to an ocean, maybe I drifted all the way from U-Corp's Great Lake. Iberia was an unfamiliar name, but that was all I had to go on, given that the city was still full of more unknowns than knowns to me. I radioed your colleagues when you briefly woke up earlier. They'll be here any minute. I see. Oh my gosh, these are such cute little sprites. Wait, my colleagues? You must have run into the sinners then. The fog of my mind immediately cleared as soon as I realized that the sinners were all nowhere to be seen. Sinners? I think so. I ran into them earlier. They were looking all over the place for someone with a clock for their head. It was a pretty unique description, so I could tell right away that you were the person that they were looking for. So this clock head does come in handy. Another question. How does she understand Dante? Manager bud. Dante. I'd woken up in an unfamiliar place to an unfamiliar face, and in the midst of all this all-around sense of displacement, the faces that appeared before me were certainly a sight for sore eyes. Gregor, Honglu. Miss Rabbit here told me she found you unconscious by the ocean. Phew, I came as fast as I could. And oh boy, I was worried that something bad might have happened. Glad to see you're doing fine. Were you lost at sea? I don't know. Well, I do think I'm fine, though. I guess not having any way to drink water is finally coming in handy. You should go get that checked out just in case. Wait, your head's waterproof, right? Gregor takes a moment to steady his breathing, then mutters a casual quip as he lights a cigarette. I mean... we went to the Great Lake before this. Dante probably got drenched. Huh, interesting. Well, he doesn't seem that concerned. Maybe we're not actually in that much danger. So what happened? Where are we? Do you remember entering that lobotomy corp branch Sheen told us about? Ah, yeah. Yeah, we ran into a new abnormality and got sucked into it before we even had a chance to do anything. Man, I really thought that was it for us, especially with you getting sucked in there too, Manager Bud. But when we came to, despite waking up with our faces down in some ditch, we were all fine without a scratch. Though there was quite the mess when we realized that you'd gone missing. We wanted to search for you immediately, but it took a while before we got a better bearing where we were. So we're not at U-Corp's Great Lake. Some of us consider that to be a distinct possibility, but it's unlikely. Ishmael was really certain that we're not in District 21. You did concede that we might be in an unknown area within the Great Lake of the outskirts. But that doesn't seem likely either, given what the rabbit-eared lady there said. The outskirts region of the Great Lake. I've met all kinds of people from all over Terra, but I've never met anyone who referred to the Iberian Sea that way. Terra Iberia. As I found myself puzzled by these unfamiliar terms, a very obvious question suddenly struck me. Speaking of which, who are you? Really? You fellas haven't introduced yourselves to each other yet? It's just that it's a lot to take in. It's understandable. You did just wake up from a pretty harrowing experience. She is... actually, would you like to do the honors yourself? I'm Amiya, the leader of Rhodes Island. Please call me Amiya. I'm Dante, manager at Limbus Company. I know I'm late, but thanks for saving my bacon. It seems that this Rodeo Island is a pretty big corporation, but... Gregor trails off ominously and scratches his head before continuing with some mild trepidation. This young lady with the rabbit's ears doesn't know what the head is at all. As far as I know, there aren't any organizations in Terra with the same characteristics as the one Mr. Gregor explained, at least not with the name like the head. Also, sorry, it's Rhodes Island, not Rodeo. Sorry, Gregor's kinda bad at names. So what you're saying is we're not in the city anymore. It'd be weird for any higher up at these huge corporations to know less about the head than we do, let alone be completely clueless about it. Well, maybe we've tumbled into a previously undiscovered zone of the outskirts or the ruins, probably. Or maybe we found ourselves in a completely different world. If their conjecture is correct, we're in way bigger trouble than I thought. This wasn't like the time we accidentally stranded ourselves in the outskirts via a door in the corridor. Amiya stared at me with some concern as though she felt my distress. I think I can draw a connection to something else that's happening here. Really? Yes, recently anomalous signs and events have been occurring in Iberia ever since a mysterious dimensional door appeared at sea. And it's been said that this dimensional door is connected to something very, very distant, to something that we've never observed, oh my gosh, before, so. Seems reasonable to theorize that the dimensional door is how we managed to cross over to this world. I really would have appreciated Faust's input. Where'd all the other sinners go anyway? A bit late on the uptake to be gawking around for the other sinners now, don't you think? They're at a settlement near here, where they're all helping out with various odds and ends of the village, while taking turns searching for Dante, of course. You know, I never thought about how difficult it would be to search for someone when we're like fish out of water, too. Man, barely got a wink of sleep since yesterday. Everyone's got to be really tired then. So it's just you two out here for now? No, Ishmael and Yisang are the other half of the search party, and we just happen to be the last group of the rotation. They must be searching elsewhere to find you, Manager Bud. Woohoo, we got the news early thanks to Amiya's comms gear, but the other team didn't. Yeah, we got lucky. The other team, well, we don't have any way to get in touch with them, so they'll probably continue their search until their shift is done. Oh, are we talking about that village you mentioned earlier? Uh-huh. Right, you've not been there yet, huh? I guess it's a bit off the beaten path. Well, we're going to have to rendezvous with the other sinners anyway, so let's head to the village for now. Something seemed to pique Amiya's interest as she fell into a contemplative silence before carefully speaking up. I would like to accompany you there. Sure, I don't see why not. You helped us find Manager Bud, and more importantly, you seem to know a lot more about this place than we do. Haha, I don't actually know Iberia that well either, but I should be able to be of some help. They've closed their borders and have practically locked out any foreign influences from affecting them, but I did get a briefing before the mission. Closed borders, huh? Then how did you get in, Miss Mia? We followed Dr. Calcit's directions and illegally crossed the country's border. Illegally? Oh, does that mean you crossed the border without obtaining permission? Any permission, Mia? We had to cross the border somehow in order to investigate how and why the dimensional door came to be. Huh, is it normal for pharmaceutical companies to be doing that? Large pharmaceutical companies often dispatch their agents for missions. Yes, Rose Island is, in its essence, a pharmaceutical company, researching treatments for people infected with oripathy. But we also work to prevent and assist in the management of various situations that can occur in high-risk areas. High-risk areas, huh? Wait, what about your companions? I doubt you came all the way here on your own. We were forced to split up due to certain forces that were in pursuit. Wait, stop. Amia's ears twitched as she came to a stop and began scanning the surrounding area. Then, there. As we stood about confused, Amia noticed something, pointed towards the seashore hidden behind the large and cragged rock formations. What are we supposed to do, huh? There we saw somebody wielding a lengthened greatsword, bickering with two familiar faces. Again, move, you're in the way. You needn't worry as you do. We have ample experience battling monsters who are much like them. Listen, I'm not worried. Come on, better to have 3 fighters than 1, right? Besides, you're the first person we ran into out here, so we got a lot of questions to ask. He's saying, Ishmael, Dante, you are unharmed. And here I was getting ready for a 3 days long search. What a relief. We were all really worried that we might never be able to find you. Woohoo, we managed to find them thanks to help from Miss Amia here. Amia? Are you two acquainted? Not a good time for a reunion. It can wait until after we take out the sea monsters. Scotty, are those organisms the Seaborns Dr. Calcit mentioned? They're sea terrors, to be specific. The less sophisticated ones among them. And they're probably here for me. Sea terrors? I hear the sticky noise of something vicious slithering against the rocks. When I turn to face the origin of the unsettling noise, I smell the heavy, wet scent of brine. At the end of my gaze awaits strange monsters, unlike distortions, unlike abnormalities, unlike anything I've ever seen. It's as though the sea itself is encroaching on the land. I was almost certain we weren't at the Great Lake, but I'm not so sure anymore. Her experiences with the thick scent of brine at the Great Lake must have put her in a wary mood. As Ishmael seemed to be a lot more apprehensive about these monsters than anyone else. You think those creatures could be whales or mermaids? I don't know. The Great Lake and the outskirts are full of unexplored mysteries after all. Dante, what do your senses say? It's unclear. I'd like to say the closest comparison I can make is with the whales, but even that's not conclusive. More enemies on the horizon. We should prepare for battle. Doesn't seem like we can talk things out with them, though. So, let's take them out. Alrighty, let's see how this team is going to be.
자, 어쩌겠지. 잘 생각해보라고. 모든 것을 이겼어. 일기당천. 말로 걸었다. 저들을 도려내라. 물 넘고. 길을 열어라. 넌 푸름을 틔울 수도 없겠구나. 고작 이 정도 탕류의 허덕이나. 저놈을 추적해. 한 넘고 물 넘고 거꾸로 제쳐라.
ダンテさんの作戦とても効果的でした。
일기당시 비술기명 마음이 부러져 기시거나 고작 이 정도 탕류의 허덕이나 뱀으로 끓여들어라. 저 해충들을 도려내라.
쪽 방향이 아닐 텐데.
사여, 넌 푸름을 틔울 수도 없겠구나.
このまま行けば敵を食い止められます。
자, 어느 쪽일지 잘 생각해보라고.
목을 떨궈주마. 고작 이 정도. 넌 푸름을 틔울 수도 없겠구나. 넌 푸름을 틔울 수도 없겠구나.
마음 놓고 열어젖히고, 마음 놓고 열어젖히고. 그쪽 방향이 아닐 텐데. 깔끔하게 물었군.
Well, that's new. Oh, I guess I have no announcers. All the remaining enemies have retreated to the sea. Good work, everyone. You didn't think I have to deal with anything remotely like this outside the Great Lake. You can say that again. It would have taken us the whole day if that Scotty character didn't occupy the other half, while Miss Rabbit helped us from a distance. As we were catching our breath after the battle, I heard a brief hum. When I turned to look at its source, I saw Scotty glaring at me with palpable alarm. Strange people who transform. And ahead of a clock? Oh shoot. I guess they're both technically true. Well, it's nothing more than a theory at this point. I think they have a lot to do with the dimensional door we're supposed to be investigating. Nice to meet you, I guess. I only hear a ticking noise. Oh, that's because only us sinners can hear Dante's voice. Huh? What's up? No, I'm just wondering how Miss Amiya can seemingly understand Dante. Yeah, what's going on here? Huh. It completely flew over my head that I didn't even question how weird this is. The voice sounds like a ticking clock to me too, but I don't know. It's almost like I can sense what they're trying to say, what kind of emotion they're trying to convey. Her explanation reminded me of the blue boy in Sinclair's past, but I didn't quite feel the uncanny sensation from Amiya that I felt from them. So she can read me kinda like Vergilius can, I guess? Well, I don't think it's a bad thing. That's true, it's been a hassle to always need Faust or Honglu to translate for you, Dante. I'd like to know exactly how she can understand Dante, but I don't think we've got the luxury of time to sit down and figure this out. So, are we heading back? Sounds like a plan. It's not like we know anywhere else to go, right? Oh, and Miss Rabbit here'll be tagging along too. She said she'll help us find our way back. I'm glad to be working with you too. Also, Miss Ishmael, Mr. Honglu. Took the words right out of my mouth. You've already helped us plenty, and you clearly know a lot more about this place than we do. The journey is long. Perhaps embarking on it ere the sun's fall would be wise. How long's the journey? No idea. It's not like we have a clock with us. I do know that it's not very far though. We just need to walk along the coastline for a bit. Scotty quietly points in my direction. Oh, Dante can't tell us the time because they're not on time. Then why the clock head? I didn't exactly choose to get myself a clock-shaped head. I looked away from Scotty's inquisitive eyes, which were quite solidly fixed on my head. Ow, I just stabbed myself. The coasts of Iberia are hardly a good place for people to live. Those things can go anywhere in this world, but they thrive at places that meet the ocean. So how did people manage to build a village at a place like this? The monsters are called seaboards or sea terrors, yes? While it is true they pose certain difficulties, they were hardly the kind of monsters with the strength to bring scourge and drive out the local populace. Don't judge them based on that brief skirmish. She's just telling us to be on our guard, right? Scotty can be a bit curt, but she's not a bad person. I don't think she said anything wrong. Nothing rules out the existence of stronger variants of these creatures being out here. Scotty's concern only served to fan my curiosity, but something about her expression communicated that I probably shouldn't pry, so I quietly quickened my pace as we walked to the village. This hardly looks like a village. It's more like the ruins of one, isn't it? It doesn't seem like they've done any proper upkeep of the place. Not in a while, at least. They're really here, living together. The strange buildings tell stories of former prosperity from a bygone era. Our steps leave no footprints on the wet, muddy ground. On it, I see a rotting sign marked with the name Faro Muretto. Everywhere I look in this village, I see evidence of a long, silent abandonment. We don't see these kinds of long, abandoned-looking ruins often in the city, either. Well, yeah, there's always someone or something out there waiting to capitalize on that free real estate, be it a syndicate or a corporation, and fix it up better than this, at least. So, where are the sinners? Ah, there's a clearing down there where we were entrapped betwixt a twain of great ships, narrowing winds against our sail. And that is when young Ishmael boomed her command most resonant. Say no more. I didn't even have to try a search for them. That unmistakably sonorous and familiar voice echoing triumphantly between the empty buildings. That's Don Quixote's voice when she's sharing her adventurous tales. There she was, standing atop a low podium like an actor on stage, regaling a group of people in rags with tales of our adventures like a traveling thespian. Answers, ye dogs, oarsmen, 'tis the moment I, Ishmael, the first mate of vessel Mephistopheles, shall now... Stop, hold on. What do you think you're doing? Young Ishmael, unhand my mouth, for I was just about to regale them with the most fantastic tale of the adventures at the Great Lake. Gasped Manager Esquire. Verily, thou hast returned with Manager Esquire safely in tow. What? They found Clockhead. A burning clock for a head. When I was a child, I heard stories about a legendary Sarkaz with a flaming head. Why would somebody like that visit our humble village? While their exterior may carry elements that inspire fear in some, there is no cause for alarm. Yeah, they might look like that, but they're Dante, our manager, and the rest are... Oh, hello. I'm sorry, who are you two? They're two very nice people who helped us find Dante. This is Miss Amia, leader of Rhodes Island. And this one is Miss Scotty, their operator. They'll be coming along with us for a little while. With us? We believe that the dimensional door which we at Rhode Islands are investigating has something to do with why you suddenly woke up here in oh my gosh, in Iberia. No, that's what Honglu says. As Amia was bringing the sinners up to speed, the villagers who were staring at us curiously approached us. Did our conversation... oh my gosh, that's not how you say that. Did our conversation manage to convince them that we're not a threat? I sure hope so. You are friends of our saviors? Saviors? Verily, 'tis quite the grand title, yet that is indeed the word by which we addressed. To be more precise, by saviors, they are referring to only Faust and Otis. Faust gave me a light nod when we made eye contact, but I could tell her lips were drawing a very, very subtle smiling arc. So I'm guessing something did happen. They were quite mistrustful upon our initial arrival. What business do outsiders have here? What if they're from the Inquisition? Oh no, what do we do after all we went through to get here? Calm yourselves, everyone. None of them are carrying what appears to be their scriptures or lamps. Let's first try to see who they are. Man, I don't think they're gonna trust us anytime soon. They're all old curmudgeons. Let's STNC, then PTSD. You can't do that, Ryoshi. We can't pillage their storage depots. It looks like they are already... Oh my gosh. It looks like they already have it hard enough as it is. I don't think STNC is a good way to get started either. Should we just find help elsewhere? Just look how thin their arms are. I don't think they're in any shape to help us out. Perhaps we could inquire as to our whereabouts ere we are to decide our lodging. While the landscape is certainly reminiscent of U-Corp's. But I don't recall seeing or learning about any place that looks like this, though I can't say I've been to every corner of U-Corp. I ask again, what business do outsiders have here? Their fingers are tightening around the grips of their weapons. Prolonged silence will most likely turn this into a hostile encounter. We can't have that. Hi, we're from Limbus Company. We're fixers of justice. Yeah, that fixers of... Oi, don't you know when to keep it down? Fixers. That over there, it's a ship blueprint, isn't it? Are you looking to repair a vessel by any chance? All these construction materials seem to suggest so. Chief, this does not concern you. It's not something a mere outsider can understand. Curious, I've never seen an energy source like this before. Have you run the tests to rule out any stability issues? It seems to power the heat exchanger via some method comparable to the utilization of fusion energy. Have you any thoughts on this, Miss Faust? The general design structure is somewhat old-fashioned, but there certainly are inspiring parts to this design, particularly with the usage of the core energy source. While its stability would need to be further studied, this technology seems to be incredibly energy efficient. You identified all that merely by glancing at this blueprint? You must be the village chief then. If so, I have a proposition for you. There we are. In return for assisting their ship repair, we were promised a ride on their vessel. Miss Faust has theorized that perhaps by going out to sea, we may be able to find a way to return to whence we came. Does that mean we can find a way back somewhere out there in the sea? Nothing is certain yet, Dante. At this moment, we are all working based on hunch. A hunch? Sensing the implicit omen in her choice of words, I slowly turned around to look at Faust, who nodded in solemnly response. If we're really in a different world, even her gel shaft, what is this, has to be, I can't pronounce it ever. No issues were encountered in the repair process. Faust smiles faintly as she looks around, and then she pulls me in by my hems. She whispers in a low voice, my connection to is currently operating at a suboptimal level, Dante. So it's still connected at least. Indeed it is. However, even exchanges of simple information are taking up dozens of hours by current calculation. Is this a warp train situation because we're in a different dimension? The cause should be identical. We have been connected to an unidentified, unpredictable dimension. However, Faust is aware that the pathway to our original dimension is yet to close this time, unlike the situation back aboard the warp train. So to get back to where we came from, indeed, traveling through the pathway seems like the most feasible solution. And from all that, you came up with the whole plan to repair the ship and sail out to sea? Yes, well, I am also a genius after all. Amiya conjectured that we probably came through a dimensional door of sorts. Looks like that dimensional door might be what Faust is looking for. With high likelihood, yes. At least there's a way back. I find myself calming down a little. Oh, speaking of which, when do you think we can wrap up the repair job? As fortune should have it, a majority of the most time-consuming parts of the repair have already been completed by the locals. It shouldn't take us more than a day or two to get the core parts shipshape again, Executive Manager. We'll be staying here for a few more days then. How did you manage last night? Well, like I said earlier, we've been keeping ourselves busy looking for you this whole time. We took turns helping with repairs and resting, but I doubt any of us got a proper night's rest. Still, we weren't cold thanks to the villagers who kept the fire going for us all night. Not to mention how they helped us a ton with that local map they drew us. Oh, also, Chief handed us this earlier. What's it for? Oh, it looks like a sack to collect water. Give it here. I know how to get that installed. It must be to repay Miss Faust and Miss Otis's efforts at repairing their ship. Yet, the service they provide us is certainly quite generous, even when taking the transactional nature into account. They're really giving us the best treatment they can, huh? As for food, we managed to fill ourselves with some cookies and bread Rhodia keeps in her pockets. Didn't want to eat into their food supply when they're already pretty tight, you know? How many cookies did Rhodia have? That is the question. She carries enough cookies and bread for 12 people? They did offer us some nosh, those dried fish things, but we refused. I ain't taking food from the needy. No need to concern yourself so much with our hospitality. You have done more than enough to earn your keep. I turned around to look at the source of that low, rumbling voice and saw an old man in an outfit that seemed to distinguish himself among the other villagers. There you are, Chief. Is there a place for us to stay the night? We do have places to shelter from the misty humidity at the very least. There is an empty building there, so feel free to occupy it for the night. Oh, are you sure? I mean, I don't mind sleeping in the streets myself. Hey, speak for yourself. I've been looking forward to sleeping with a roof over my head since, like, yesterday. You'll catch a cold sleeping in the elements in this environment, which is fine by me for the rest of you. But we cannot afford to have executive manager or our honored guests suffer that fate. Honored guests? I heard what happened from the 4 who left in the search of the executive manager. First, I would like to begin by imparting my infinite gratitude to you for finding and rescuing the executive manager. I hear that you are a leader at a pharmaceutical company. This acquaintance shall certainly come in handy, in case our stay becomes significantly prolonged. Haha. Back to the bootlicking. I'm just surprised by her boldness to say something so materialistic when they're standing right there. Can I stay in your village too, Chief? The village chief took a brief glance at the hems by her waist. By her right wrist, then nodded. Welcome to Fara Moretto. You are welcome to stay as long as you want. And please, do let me know if you find yourselves without food. Our food supply may be tight indeed, but we have enough to share with those who helped repair the vessel. Ooh, you better not go back on your word later. I wonder what kind of local delicacies await. Dried fish like they were eating earlier, maybe? Hey Chief, what is it? Just how are you surviving out here, by the sea? Perhaps the questions of how we are surviving may be somewhat misdirected. For we are only pursuing every possible avenue because we must survive. The chief responds to Scatty's perceived hostility with a hearty smile. After leaving some firewood for the night, he left. I'm going. I can't learn much more from here. Huh? You're going somewhere at this hour? Looks like it. Scotty, does this have something to do with the coast? I remember what you said before we got to the village. Something about how the coasts are hardly good places to live. Dante wants to know if this has something to do with the coast. Do you understand the Aegir language? Aegir language? No. Dante, Scotty just spoke in Aegirian. I couldn't understand a word of what Scotty and the chief's conversation because I don't speak Aegirian. It may only be that there were enough lexical similarities between one of the city's languages and the language Scotty spoken for them to comprehend the meaning. Weird coincidence. Anyway, I have some things to look into, something you're all too slow to see. You still have to tell us about it later. Please remember, you're not on a solo mission, Scotty. This is a team effort from Rhodes Island. Will do. Scotty nodded lightly before leaping off into the night, out of our sights. I'm kinda worried. She's not the best with people, but she's also pretty thoughtful. She'll be okay. Should we head inside? The sun is starting to set already. Oh yeah. We can probably just pick an unlit building and stay the night there, right? Trying our best to ignore the mood that was starting to turn awkward, we made our way into the nearby unoccupied building. We walked past a few narrow buildings and remnants of narrow buildings before we came across a hall large enough to house all 15 or so of us. Okay, now we're ready. With the curtains on the window removed, the smoke has an exit. Whoa, I thought we were all doomed to shudder ourselves to sleep with soaking wet firewood and all. I had no idea that'd work. We just have to get a small fire going underneath it until the wood dries up and catches fire. The downside being all this smoke. It's clear she has some field experience, unlike some fools I know. I shan't sit here and let her carry the burden of labor alone. Bequeath me upon thine ingredients, young Rodion, for I shall conjure thee a pot of special fixer soup. You're making soup with cookies and jelly. No, you're not getting anywhere near the kitchen again, not after what you cooked up last time. Everybody's still traumatized from that. Well, I must admit to a certain level of interest. As many of our fellows, Viscera, are oft racked with intense agony upon ingesting dishes of your making. Perhaps it would be wiser that we save the occasion for a safer environment. Right? Don't you remember? We agreed to leave cooking to Mir or Oi if we're ever in a situation like this, remember? I should probably just pronounce that Mir. Did we? I see. I think it's become sort of an unspoken rule after everything that happened. Remember back during last year's cooking contest at K-Corp, they were the only 2 people who managed to get even remotely positive reviews. Oh, does that mean we'll get to try Otis's cooking once again? Denied, we still have plenty of high calorie foods like cookies and jellies here. I find no reason to do something so inefficient. I'm glad to see that everyone's still energetic given the circumstances. It can't be easy to suddenly wake up in an unfamiliar environment. Well, we're all quite used to getting thrown into unfamiliar places. Speaking of which, did you manage to reach your colleagues, Amiya? She shook her head, concerned. They might have lost their comms devices, or maybe ran into some other trouble. Could they be in danger? I don't know, but I'm sure they're okay. The doctor and Dr. Calcit, they're both more than capable enough to look after themselves. Long has this curiosity lingered within me, thus allow me to inquire. Corporations are, by their nature, organizations in pursuit of profit. Yet the activities of your corporation resemble those of a charity, of charity organizations as opposed to a pharmaceutical company. Is there aught that might explicate this blurred distinction? Aha, I wanted to know too. How come a pharmaceutical company like Rose Islands is helping people? Something about what Honglu said brings back unpleasant memories. The horrible experience seen through the cascade of flowing tears in the face of suffering, the embodiment of greed that left a terrible wound in Honglu's fathoms. The pharmaceutical companies I've seen in my journey were corporations that, despite possessing the capacity to heal, choose to obsess over the profit it can provide. There are many in Terra who are suffering from a disease. The disease crystallizes you. It spreads deeper and deeper into the affected's internal organs, eventually culminating in their death. It's called oropathy. Amiya showed me the back of her right hand dotted by what appeared to be obsidian crystallizations. Its appearance reminded me of the bio-treatments from the back streets, but there was something more to it, something more restless, more sinister. It's a terrible, painful disease, but there haven't been any recorded cases of full recovery. But there's an even worse problem. Pray tell, what could possibly be worse than an incurable, deadly disease? While it varies by region by region, discrimination against the infected is widespread across Terra. Those who suffer from it must face unfair treatment. Yisang began with a dark expression. Some are quarantined in places with terrible, inhumane conditions, and there have been massacres, too. I don't mean to be callous, but is this oropathy highly contagious? Just dropped my pen again. At least I didn't stab myself with it again. No, there have not been any recorded cases of infection by contact as long as the subjects are alive. But when the infected dies, the crystal growths on their body decay and turn to dust, scattering, which is what spreads the plague. Then, barring environments like active battlefields where casualties are to be expected, staying within close proximity to the infected in daily life seems to pose hardly any risk. So what's the problem then? They're already past the point of caring about what the problem is. Once people start feeling iffy, all logic goes out the window. Then Rose Island's goal has to be. Yes, it is important to develop a cure for oropathy, but I think what really matters is that we change the circumstances for the better for the infected. That's not going to be an easy endeavor, though that is what gives your effort more meaning. I hope you can achieve that goal, Amiya. I really do. For truth. The city, this world. We both live in worlds full of surprises, don't we? What kind of world did you come from? This city. What kind of place is the city, anyway? The kind of place with too many pointless rules. The kind of place where the moment you think, isn't this too much, you see something even worse? Try as I might, I couldn't think of a single positive thing about the city. The sinners seemed to be in agreement, as most of what came after was quite scathing. The kind of place where good deeds rarely ever go unpunished, where sympathy is as a good attitude to have if you like getting stabbed in the back. Nothing good ever works out there. It's a shithole. It's an irrational place full of absurdities. Absurdity is omnipresent. Therefore, it is not a subject by which one should be aggrieved. We can at least grouse about them, though I mean, it's the only thing we can do. it would be more correct to experience more and accumulatize oneself to it instead of complaining. You did say something like that last time. Just as the sour mood was starting, just as the mood was starting to turn sour, Don Quixote shattered through the awkwardness. Verily, nary a day goeth by untarnished by villains and their fell deeds. Yet worry thee not, for where evil riseth, so doth fixers of justice too. Don Quixote jumped from her seat and passionately shook her fist, which was followed by a heavy crack and the sound of small pebbles tumbling down. Don Quixote, watch out! Whoa! And from behind the wall she accidentally broke down. An unfamiliar visage of a villager appeared and stared back at Don Quixote. It appeared that she was eating something out of a can while reading a book. How farest thou? Farest thy foot? You gotta apologize first. Thy lass seems a tad too hyper today. Apologies, for I hardly expected the wall to crumble with such ease. Art thou unhurt? Any injuries? Besides having her mind blown. To? Pray tell to what? Forget the apology, I just want to know what happens next. The fixers of justice rose up to do what? Hast thou come to hear the tale of fixers? I don't know about coming to us, given how Miss Don Quixote was the one who punched the wall down. Ahem. Oh, is it too late an hour? I don't mind waiting till morning if you want to sleep. Nay, not at all. 'Tis quite early an hour for tales. In fact, prithee, seat thyself here. You ungovernable fool, calm down. We don't even know who she is. And don't you forget to share those fixer tales over there in the corner to not disturb our sleep. Thou makest a request most untenable. These tales deserve to be announced to the world with great gusto from the center. Yeah, that's the best way to hear those kinds of stories. Well, we should probably introduce ourselves to each other first. Name's Mares, and I'm... How should I put this? Ah, did you meet the village chief from earlier during the day? He's my gramps. Oh, that nice guy? So yeah, he had a granddaughter. Yet I have not seen you once, Miss Mares, under the sun. Oh my, you're right. I thought the village was completely dried of any young blood. Like Rhodia said, while we didn't see Mares out there, there wasn't anyone else in the village we could comfortably call young. You're telling me Gramps was worrying over nothing and told me to stay put inside, going on and on about the dangers the outsiders pose and everything. It seems they do not give their full faith to their saviors. There are things you cannot share even with whom you trust your life, though I would like to know why. My, so there are a bunch of other kids who are stuck indoors in this village? No, there isn't anyone around my age in the village at all. If that's the case, I guess I can understand why he'd be overprotective. Anyway, it's our turn. I'm good, I've heard enough to get an idea. You did? Oh, pray, how didst thou hear us? Via a listening device most secret upon our chamber? Mares tapped the side of the wall, the part that was still standing anyway, and smiled ironically. Bad soundproofing. I could hear pretty much everything. Don Quixote, right? Everything Don Quixote practically sang during the day. Verily, I see. I think you could really do with some sense of embarrassment for once. Well, I guess that's good enough for self-introduction, so... Care to regale me with a tale of fixers who bring justice to the evils of the city? Indubitably. Then, aha, this shall do. I shall regale thee the tale in which the legendary fixer, the arch-magnificence herself, the Red Mist, hath... I suppose that killed any hope for a good night's kip. But don't you usually pass out within a minute of your back hitting the head no matter how noisy things are? What? You take me for the kind of hibernating bear or something? Look, even I have trouble sleeping when there's noise all over. Oh, he passed out. So I say a bear in hibernation is a pretty apt descriptor. For all that grumbling and moaning, he dozed off before any of us did. Aside from Heathcliff, who began snoring the moment his head touched the ground, some other sinners were fast asleep as well. Meursault had entered a deep sleep with his usual steadfast adherence to the routine, while Faust laid claim to one of the few available cloth sheets as soon as the close of business for the day was confirmed. The sinners who had spent the entire last night searching for me in this unfamiliar land slowly began to fall asleep as well. Meanwhile, the fixer of the Zwei Association's first section, though the night was no longer young, Don Quixote was still vigorously sharing the tales of adventures without even a single sign of fatigue. She's not determined to do this until sunrise, is she? I guess it's okay since Mare seems to be having fun. As I continued to watch the pair with some mild concern, Amiya, not yet asleep, approached me. This city Miss Don Quixote speaks of seems to be teeming with fixers of justice and exhilarating tales of adventure. Did you actually experience all of them yourself? No, of course not. Don Quixote's stories are usually those of other famous people. But she's telling it with such vigor that it almost sounds like she was there herself. Well, I guess, if you really want to get into it, some of them might be retellings of Don Quixote's personal experiences. Ishmael replied uncertainly, thinking back to the plays we were made to watch back in La Mancha land. Well, I think all those stories, even though they're only partially true, just go to show what a ridiculous place it can be. We wouldn't need fixers of justice to begin with if we really lived in a just world, right? A really good place to live would be quiet and peaceful without someone having to force it. Haha, that's true. I hope there'll come a day when Rhodes Island could be a normal pharmaceutical company in the future. Something's wrong? No, I just thought Miss Mares and I made eye contact. Did she overhear our conversation? I looked to her direction as well, but all I saw was Miss Mares excitedly reacting to Don Quixote's tales. Whoa, what happened then? Thus spake Lady Otis boldly before the soldiers who stood in our path. Thou presumeth to stand in our path, servants of a master most unworthy. I, Otis, shall educate ye on how manner maketh. Don Quixote was now retelling the stories of Limbus Company's adventures in Hongyuan, and Otis, who could no longer stand Don Quixote's unintentional alterations of the story, jumped to her feet and shouted, "Damn it, what kind of nonsense are you feeding her? I never said anything like that." Ahem, verily, certain aspects of this retelling may have been exaggerated. Aha, that's tales of adventure for you. Things are bound to get a bit dry when a story is told too realistically and as is, right? You know nothing. Not even anything resembling a proper record or a book remained once the profound silence swept through this village. So I've always had a craving for these kinds of stories. But Iberia doesn't stop Iberians from emigrating contrary to their tight immigration control. Have you ever thought about leaving this place? It's still a challenge to cross the border, especially since we're going to have to pass through larger cities that are managed by the Inquisition. You don't seem particularly fond of this Inquisition. Why is that? That's because this village was formed by people who grew tired of living under the Inquisition's rule and fled. Sorry, but what kind of organization is this Inquisition? Sinclair asked, face turning cold upon hearing the word Inquisition and the people that fled from it. Yeah, the Nagel und Hammer we saw back at... well, aren't the kind of memories that are so easily forgotten. According to Dr. Calcit, the Inquisition is what filled the power vacuum once Iberia fell into chaos. That its inquisitors are the rapier and lamp-wielding protectors of Iberia's cities from lawlessness. That alone makes them sound like good people, though. Yeah, they are, but there's the Church of the Deep. The Inquisition will go to whatever lengths to deal with incidents related to the church that worships Seaborns. By an organization that worships those monsters? It seems that cultist fanaticism is a plague wherever we go. I feel like people with all kinds of wrong faiths and beliefs are so common. See, the Seaborns are the ones that messed Iberia up, so following their logic, apparently it's okay for them to arrest anyone who seems even remotely connected to them. Are you saying that Iberia is like this because of the Seaborns? There's things from earlier. I guess they were kind of troublesome to deal with, but they didn't seem that strong. Anyways, it's just what I heard from Gramps, but the Inquisition executed many innocent people too in their crusade against the Church of the Deep. For those who proclaimed to be on the side of justice, they seem quite fond of committing such villainy. It seems like a reasonable policy decision to me, but it must pose a clear danger to the daily lives of civilians. Yeah, I heard I was the only survivor. Everyone in my family died. You must have had to endure such a long period of pain. To be able to say something like that with such composure. For Iberia, they are heroes that will bring the land back to its glory days, but to Gramps they were just oppressors making his life difficult. That's why we've all come here, fleeing from the Inquisition's gaze. Yet wherefore hast thou decided to settle at a place that is so, run down? Indeed. Yeah, I know, but it's not so bad once you get used to it. Besides, we managed to find a new path thanks to you guys. A new path? Well, it's getting late. Will you be repairing the ship tomorrow too? This place really has no soundproofing at all, huh? Good talk, everyone. Hope we'll get another chance to do this tomorrow too. After seeing Maris to her own room, the other sinners, who were all still up anyway, and I laid ourselves on the hard floor with only a thin layer of cloth between it and our backs. A mysterious world that is neither the city nor the outskirts. But it seems the lives its people led were just as difficult as they were anywhere else. It's so big. Amazing, I didn't know there were remaining vessels of this class in Iberia. Aha! I spy her name here. 'Tis called by the name Rebellion de la Masas. Rebellion de la Masas. Revolt of the Masses, is it? A name very much mirrored in particularity indeed. Ponglu chimed in that he is rather fond of it, with its size being about the same as the boat from his home, while Ishmael quickly jumped in to correct us that its size alone wasn't anything special at the Great Lake, but it was still pretty big compared to Mephi or the Indigo Elder's skiff. I thought it was going to be somewhere around Mephi's size at most. Are you sure you can get the ship fixed in a day or two? As I briefed you yesterday, the great majority of the time-consuming repairs had already been completed by the villagers. The extent of our repair efforts only concerns a few components within the vessel that the villagers could not repair, which shouldn't take us much time. Unless parts that are unfamiliar to Faust are also malfunctioning, such as the core engine, remaining repairs should be sufficiently managed by Faust. Despite Otis's confident declaration, I could not help but feel oddly unsettled as I looked at the ship. I don't know why, but something tells me we don't want to linger here for too long. Still, please be thorough about it, just in case. I'd rather not sit on a sinking ship again. The experience at the Great Lake was enough. Do not worry, Dante. Unlike Mephistopheles, most functions of this vessel, buoyancy, gear, propellers, steering gear, all are in operational capacity. This repair would be much easier than the case with Mephistopheles. They seem confident enough. They should be safe this time around, right? Are we taking that rope to climb up to the ship? No, there's a lift-like apparatus down there. It should take us up to the ship. Its stability was verified yesterday. Let us board the lift. You're 100% sure. 100% certain, right? The boat is afloat right now. Dante, I don't think it'll be sinking anytime soon. Wouldn't that be nice? Wait, are you two just going to faff about down there? We're heading up now. No, we're going with you. As I made my way into the vessel's bridge, I was greeted by the extravagant interior that was as gaudy as its exterior. This isn't real gold, is it? Sure is shiny as heck in there. I've got butterflies in my stomach. I completely messed. A.S. Aesthetically satisfying, she says. But too ostentatious. Not quite my style. Our young Mephi is also quite the excellent vessel, yet imagine the adventures we could embark aboard this vessel, most lavishly decorated. As Faust and Otis were working on one of the control panels, Ishmael walked up to the other and interfaced with it before giving a knowing. This must have been an investigative or research vessel of sorts, but it does seem a bit extravagant for one of those, though. Look, coordinates updating in real time, it seems. The coordinates seem to have been set somewhere out in the middle of the ocean. Maybe it points to a small islet? Nope, no islet here. Oh my gosh, you just teleported behind him. Blimey, lass, you sure know how to sneak up on people. Maris, Haha, what? Did I actually surprise you? I ask you guys if you were going to come fix the boat? I did ask you guys if you're going to come fix the boat today. She's getting too much screen time. It's going to be Yuri all over again. She's doomed. Still, I didn't know you'd be here. Why are the coordinates set to this location? There are several undersea cities beneath those coordinates, collectively known as Aegir. Gramps' home. I see, understood. What was understood, if I may ask? It is now understood why the promise to repair the ship was sufficient to earn their trust and the title of saviors. What's she on about? Someone get translating. Consolidating and cross-referencing the observed particular circumstances of the village and the statements from the village chief alongside the information garnered from the exchange with mayors. It is possible to gauge the significance the ship's repair has to the local populace. Of course, while this may constitute a sequence of logical connections that poses a certain challenge for Heathcliff to comprehend, to employ any degree of effort to attempt to explain it in a more digestible language would constitute a pursuit of inefficiency. Lower the baton, I implore you. I shall explain it in full. I was wondering when Miss Smartass would start gabbing like that again. So what's she on about? Heathcliff's shoulders were relaxed. It didn't seem like he was actually going to swing the bat. He placed it lightly over his shoulder with a sigh. A brief observation of the village seems to suggest that their subsistence situation was quite dire. Much of their daily sustenance consisted of dry food, most of them made for long-term storage purposes. Considering what Scotty said about the coastal areas are full of danger, maybe those dried seafood aren't from around here either. Maybe it's food they packed when they first came to Faro Moretto. Some villagers were armed, yeah, and those sea terrors weren't exactly that formidable, but given the state the villagers are in, I doubt they'd have an easy time repelling those monsters. Indeed, that brings us to the question of sustenance. Right, I get what's going on here. The lass and her granddad are about to visit their hometown, and they're trying to get some food supplies from there to feed the villagers and to convince them they're planning to use the fact that they're from the same neck of the woods, or sea, I guess. Oh, so we're not just repairing the ship, we're repairing their food supply plan too. Huh? What's wrong? It's While the expressions were rather crude, Heathcliff's summary of the situation was clear, to the point and easily understood. The sinners stared at him with mild surprise. And I did too. What's with them annoying looks? Wait, oh, you saw us. You don't think I'm that dim-witted, do you? Top-notch intuition. It's just that it's been a while since you've shown this side of yourself. Thinking back, Heathcliff's intuition's always been excellent, and he'd often put together surprisingly accurate conclusions with impressive speed. You know, when you really think about it, it's kind of your fault for, I've been too soft on you lately, haven't I? Boy, get back here. Now with those fools out of the conversation, was he correct? Otis looks away from the usual chaos and asks Mares. Honestly, I'm surprised. He was on point. Yeah, food's been running low in the village. At this rate, we won't last another year. But the Aegir will. I'm sure they'll welcome us with open arms. I don't want to come off as like I'm overly worried, but do you think they'll welcome the others too? Unlike Mares or Thief, they're not Aegir. I believe they will. Iberia suspects and hates the Aegir for no reason than that we're from the sea, but our home cannot have fallen so low as to abandon a group of starving land dwellers. Prithee, might thou explain to us who the Aegir are? I had initially thought it to be a reference to a region, yet it also seems to refer to an affiliation of sorts. Maybe there's something like nest dwellers, though I don't think I've heard of a nest that accepts backstreet people with open arms. Or maybe they used to be some rich folk. If they call themselves Nesthoff's Aegir here, then does that make the rabbit-eared lass Aegir too? Wait, in the world you came from, do they not distinguish between races? That is not entirely true. Delineation between races is a concept that does exist. Though I only saw them in the Fathoms, so there were those terrifying things called the cuckoo spawns. However, as a general rule, it can be said that humans should be the only intelligent life forms in the city. The people of Terra have slightly varying appearances depending on their race, like my catus ears. And I've got pointy ears because I'm an Ager, though it's not a characteristic every Ager shares. The closest idea to what they are discussing appears to be, Don Quixote seems to be struggling to finish her sentence. Result stepped in to continue. By context clues and the manner of the word usage, including any means of classification, the closest example to our world would be blood fiends. Similar external appearances to humans, different natures, comparable sapiens. 'Tis of my belief that blood fiends are ostracized due to their nature that maketh the coexistence with humans difficult. It may be that Ager are also. I'm sure some of them do possess qualities that make coexistence with others difficult, but they're probably rare. Then wherefore are they made subjects of suspicion and hatred? That's... well, the language is new, but the idea itself is pretty similar to city folk like us. Think of feathers of fallen wings, kids born in the back streets, people who replaced their body with parts from prosthetics. The form differs, yet in essence we find the thread. Something about how we keep finding these similarities in the ways of our lives, despite finding ourselves in a distant world with different rules, races, and humans, felt oddly discomforting. The point is, you guys are doing us a real solid by fixing up the ship. Let's move away from these gloomy conversations, okay? I want to show you the cooler parts of this ship. This way. This ship tour may have to wait. The repairs are almost completed, but an issue has arisen. Issue? Wow, that's not reassuring at all. Multiple life forms identified ahead, assumed to be a sea terror horde. The ship's radar system seems to suggest that the vessel is surrounded. They're the same monsters from yesterday. Executive Manager, please order us to prepare for battle. Damn it, are they the sea terrors you encountered? They look a bit different, but yeah, probably. There's a lot of them, but if our last experience tells us anything, we should be able to handle this. Amiya, please support us in battle like you did yesterday. Canst thou fight, young mares? I feel like I'm just gonna get in your way. Then excuse me. Then guys, find a place to keep mares as far as possible from the battle. Then let's hurry down there. We don't want them damaging the ship any further.
다들 평소보다 의욕적이야. 이런 분위기는 흔치 않아서 목을 콱 물어버리자. 쓸데없이 흥분한 걸 수도 있지. 뭐 나쁜 건 제약 효과가 굉장히 좋았어. 기록적인 K량인 것
모든
같다.
것을 견뎠어.
불가 위야.
12세기
막아내지 못해. 방금 멋졌어. 너희들의 사랑의 힘이, 빛의 힘이.
도끼를
저 어둡고 악한 아르카나들이
저
그
해초들을 도려내라.
이대로면 승리도 시간 문제겠지?
아, 묘야.
여기선 이런 공격이 잘 먹히는군요.
해냈구나. 나라도 그랬을 거야.
친히 목을 떨궈주마.
불가 위야. 막아내지 못하리.
물 넘고
제압 개체에서는 정상적인 분쟁이야. 척하지 않았어. 내 생각보다 움직임이 더 좋고 당연한 걸 한 것 가지고 잘할 필요 없어. 목을 콱 물어버리자고. 이제 깨우치시길. 이제 깨우치시길.
말로 고작 이 정도 탕류의 허덕이
다들
저
첫 여정을
도련해.
시작했을 때보다 정말 강해지셨네요.
분명히 분명한
길을 열어.
공격을 선택한 건 좋았던 것
튀울
같네.
수도 없겠구나. 넌 푸름을 튀울 수도 없겠구나.
바람 불어오는 대로 짓밟아.
괜찮으셨네. 뭐야 이 수치는? 아까 어떤 직원이 제 앞 개체에 한 번에 입힌 피해량이야. 잠깐! 진짜?
날개를
왜 부서팀장을 안 달아줬지?
발톱을 걸어.
이제 깨우치시게. 이제 깨우치시게.
봐! 어렵지 않지? 이미 관찰 기록에 있는 유형대로만 공격하면 되잖아.
바람
관찰
불어오는 대로
기록을 잘 읽은 것 같네.
짓밟아.
훌륭했어.
악당 퇴치 성공! 오늘도 정말 멋진 활약이었어.
저희에게도 이런 힘을 베풀어 주시다니 마음씨가 넓은 분이실까요?
불가 위협.
실수로 주셨더라도 상관없나요? 한 번 베푼 이상 약간 불입이랍니다. 모든 것에 견뎠어.
주분께서 너희에게 거는 기대가 크더군. 최선을 다해라.
주군께서는 사소한 실수로 책잡지 아니하시고 너무 긴장하지 말고 임하게.
도끼를 보내라. 저
첩포자들아.
해충들을 도려내.
예상한 것보다 움직임이 더 좋구나.
묘야.
너희들의 사랑이
길을 열어라.
빛의 힘이 저 어둡고
괜찮아요,
악한
선생님.
아르카나들을 뒤흔들었어.
이럴 때도 있는 법이죠.
이러면 승리도 시간 문제겠지?
목을 떨고 너는 못 따라나.
있잖아. 사실 마법 소녀들은 항상 인형난에 시달리거든. 너희만 괜찮다면 혹시 우리를 도와서
날개를 펼치고
아니.
목을 떨고
이건 선택의 순간이 필요하니까 내가 정할 순 없겠네. 아쉽다.
물 넘고
그치?
꺾고 제쳐라.
제약 효과가 굉장히 좋았어. 기록적인 피해량인 것 같아. 이 거리면 충분해. 너한텐 조금 멀겠지만. 제약 결제를 다시 처리했네.
아무리 그래도 이런 건 칭찬을 할 수밖에 없겠어.
순조로워 보여서 무엇보다 다행이야.
이 넓은 중앙 본부를 통제하려면
날개를
이
펼치고
정도 일솜씨는 당연한 거긴 하지만
고작 이 정도 탕류의 허덕이나. 혈염도 바로 와.
검을 휘두를 줄 아는 데는 많다.
아닐 텐데.
그 검에 길이 있는지가 중요하지.
마음에 들면 들었다. 솔직히 말해라 자로요. 보기 드문 용장에게 칭찬을 아낄 이유가 뭐 있는지.
목을 콱 물어버리자고.
이제 깨우치시게.
목을 떨고
제약 교체에게 맞는
고작 이 정도면
정상적인
넌
공격이야.
푸름을 튀울 수
알았어.
없겠구나.
이제
페리트
깨우치시게.
당연한 걸 한 것 가지고 굳이 칭찬할 필요 없어.
넘고 무수히 넘고. 아, 여기선 이런 공격이 잘 먹히는군요. 바람 불어오는 대로 다들 첫 여정을 시작했을
악당
때보다
퇴치
정말
성공!
강해지셨네요.
오늘도 정말
Hey,
멋진
that wasn't too
활약이었어.
bad.
그런데도 감회가 새로.
The remaining entities have all returned to sea. Is everyone okay? It was just like our last skirmish. Oh man. The sea terrors that The sea terrors that had surrounded the ship returned to sea even before the battle came to the end. Their retreat felt too orderly and deliberate to just be running away. It's almost like they're making a tactical retreat. We're doing peachy, but what about the ship? Now, is the ship okay? Minor damages to the hull, but nothing that will impede the ship's operational capacities. Phew. So I noticed during the battle, I might be wrong of course, but I think I noticed how around the end of the battle, those monsters were starting to go after the manager. You're probably right, actually. I noticed too, oh my gosh. I noticed too, at some point during our battle, those monsters realized that it's the manager who's commanding the rest of us. I sensed the very same. Their movements were fluid and adaptive, as though they were learning our behavior. Why does the Church of the Deep worship monsters like them? That ain't much of a question, isn't it? They must have all gone mental. I'm sure they have many reasons, but Seaborns are beings of infinite potential, so much so that there's no superlative big enough to properly convey the scale. As organisms, they can endlessly evolve and adapt. Every time they encounter a new environment or a new element, they can transform themselves into themselves and other Seaborns. Maybe that's their draw? That fascination may be an attitude most befitting a researcher, yet the transformation of fascination into idolatry is, if I may be frank, not entirely positive. I find them pretty uncomfortable. They just remind me of whales. Then can they adapt to learn a language to communicate with us? What? Only by everything we heard. I heard they sound really smart. Mara's eyes went round at Honglu's suggestion. She brought her hands to her mouth, surprised. It sure was something. I heard that there was a Seaborn who could talk. If non-humans speak the language of humans, regardless of its testament to their intelligence, I can only think of two possibilities as to why they would. One, to communicate with humans. The other, to deceive humans. More often than not, it's the latter. What about distortions? Some of them already know how to speak. Distortions are phenomena in which humans transform into monstrous forms, first observed after the White Nights and Dark Days incident. Therefore, that example is irrelevant to Otis' supposition. White Night and Dark Days. She whispered quietly, but as we were standing rather close to her, we all caught on to the hint of joy in her voice. The pillar of light in the city. Did it really? How have you come across this knowledge, Miss Mayers? Oh, ain't it obvious? We've got the culprit right here, the storyteller lass who's been gabbing on with no end. Yeah, she's been talking non-stop all morning about all kinds of stories, hasn't she? Oh, yet I have not gotten that far. You again? You didn't get so lost in your own stories that you babbled all about our company's secrets, have you? Nay, fie, I would simply not. As Don Quixote was subject to yet another round of scolding, Amiya stared out towards the sea, wary of the night. Wary not. Sea terrors, I don't know why. Might start crawling to the surface once again before turning towards us. I wonder which of the two the Seaborns are. Their sense of self is really faint, so I don't think they'd be in either category. I think it's possible that they learned human language out of instinct, that the power of speech might help them survive. It appears that you, Miss Mayers, are quite the expert on the subject of Seaborns. Your knowledge of them goes beyond what fear for one's survival may yield, thereby suggesting a different means of acquisition. Do you by chance worship the Seaborns? I don't worship Seaborns. Seaborns don't have any hopes or wishes, just desire for survival. Miss Mayers, does that mean if Seaborns were somehow able to hope? Maybe so. Is that so? The repairs are complete. As we were conversing, Faust descended from the ship with a neatly organized set of tools, borrowed from the village. Repairs completed. I'm guessing repairs are done. Yes, the ship is ready to set sail. Did you have a departure time and date in mind? I would prefer if we could depart as soon as possible. We don't have a set time or anything, but I think we should be able to set sail this late afternoon at the earliest. That soon. As you've seen, we don't have a lot to bring with us, haha. By the way, how far out to sea do you guys need to go? We need to find this dimensional door of sorts. I could see that the dimensional door's light from the beacon at night. It was faint, but given how the light's strong enough to break through the sea fog, we should be able to determine its location somewhere around the coastal waters. So we can go back tonight. The first order of business is to relay this news to the villagers. Yeah, back to the village for now. There's something going on in the village. Yeah, I hear it too. I'm hearing people shouting and hollering. When we returned to the village, ship repairs completed, we were welcomed by a rather hostile standoff. A quick count told me there were approximately 20 people assembled at the village square. Considering its population, that was pretty much the whole village. Who's that over there? Inquisitor. I think we've been found. The Inquisitor, dressed in a well-kept uniform, was about the same height as Don Quixote. The sword and lamp hanging from her waist sits in stark contrast with the more run-down, ramshackle village. She almost looked like a fixer from the city. So the Inquisition has discovered our village. Did you really think you could forever stay out of the Inquisition's gaze, citizen? That's a naive dream. Fabius disappeared from the Inquisition mid-interrogation under charges of suspicion of membership within the Church of the Deep. Last known location, Salt Flat. The other Inquisitors have informed me that you have been identified next to pirates in its fringes. From a criminal to an outlaw, what a dramatic evolution of your career. But it ends now. Every citizen here, including you, will be accompanying me to the Inquisition. They have never broken a single law, nor are they outlaws of any kind. They are not like me. They've disregarded the Inquisition's authority, evaded the gaze of Iberia, and found this sodden coast to lurk in. Tell me, I'm not supposed to find that suspicious. What are you talking about? You can't just start arresting people left and right with a tenuous suspicion like that. You shouldn't. We only wish to live a quiet life, ma'am. Is that so? Then you might find yourself returning to this village one day, as long as you're telling the truth. Which is not an option for you, Fabius. Mares, was Chief really a pirate? Well, yeah, but as far as I know, he's been out of the game for a while. And even when he ran with the pirates, all he ever did was share fin beast jerky to villagers, or carry Igarians between them. Even if you're telling the truth, Maris, I doubt the Inquisition will be lenient. Well, what now? I have but one question to ask. That Inquisitor, is she following the proper legal procedures? I don't know much about the laws of Iberia, but Dr. Calcit told us the words of Inquisitors were pretty much the law here. It's likely that she is following the proper legal procedures. The procedures are precisely what the villagers have fled from, after all. Then it is decided. Otis quietly dragged me to the side and whispered outside Mayor's earshot. The sinners who were right next to me seem to have picked it up, though. Executive Manager, we best immediately return to the ship, take command of it, and sail out on our own. It is unwise to involve ourselves in this conflict. What? Are you seriously suggesting that we let him arrest the villagers? Didn't you hear what the Inquisitor said? It seems quite cut and dry to me. If this is just a standard procedure with no local laws broken, we are in no place to involve ourselves. Our best hope is to take the ship before they impound that too. We can't do that, even if it's standard procedure, even if they're working within the law. It's not... You stayed up to hear Mayor's story too, didn't you? You know, the N-Corp Inquisitors were working within the law too, when they came for the village. That was standard procedure too. If anyone has stepped in then. I know what you went through, but I'd still rather not take a risk in an unfamiliar environment like this. I will try my best to figure out how to sail that ship. If I cannot, then I have faith in Ishmael to quickly learn its controls. I can't say you're wrong, but I don't know. Neither you nor I know anything about the ocean currents here, Otis. We can get the ship going, but I can't guarantee that we'll reach the dimensional door without any trouble. Do you know anything about the sea currents in this region? Not much, but I know the coastal sea somewhat. And you can't fight the Inquisitors directly here in Iberia. Fleeing with the ship might be the better option. What should we do, Dante? Yeah, I guess it's kind of awkward for us to just take the ship and go, huh? How about we try to talk to the Inquisitor, then? I think we should at least try to hear them out first, them being the Inquisitor and the Chief both. If the discussion goes well, we might even be able to get the Inquisition support. Like Mr. Honglu said, we should hear them out first, then try to convince them. I agreed with them both. First, let's see what the Inquisitor has to say. R. Rabbit's right, she says. Are you certain that translation was accurate, Sinclair? Right, there's no way Ryoshi would choose anything other than violence, right? Idiots, it's because the other options are pointless. Inquisitors seen us, we're already under suspicion. Oh, dang. Got some more insight into Ryoshi. She will doubtless try to stop us if we flee now. So talk first to lower her guard and then attack. Okay, never mind. Pretty sure that's not what Mia meant. Well, if she's already onto us, then we shouldn't give her any excuse to attack us by running away. I was wondering what you were doing there, lurking in the background. A clock-shaped head. Are you from the Columbian Union? They're wearing a clock for a head due to reasons, but they have nothing to do with the Columbian Union. What's the Columbian Union? TikTok, what? Which language are they speaking? Regardless of whether you're from Colombia or not, they're clearly not from Iberia, let alone this village. You're not wrong, but I think there's been a bit of a misunderstanding. I'm quite certain you don't know enough about these villagers to stand between them and an Inquisitor. How long have you been staying here? 2 days? Buddy, don't just tell her that. 2 days? Alright, enough of this what is this word? Chicanery? Get out of my way, outsider. The attempt appears to have been made on quite the unstable ground. Please lend us your ear for a minute, Inquisitor. I'm Amia, leader of Rhodes Island. Yes, I'm aware of Iberia's closed border situation. I felt hope swelling within me as Amia began with confidence, unlike Sinclair. Alas, it was so short-lived. Thanks to the Inquisitor's quick retort, I couldn't help but place my palm against my forehead at the exchange that followed. Oh, so not only are we dealing with outsiders of dubious origin, we have illegal entry as well? We had to, because the issue demands urgency, and... I've been briefed. Brazenly crossed the border, didn't you? I don't know how urgent that issue could be, but I doubt it's any more significant than the situation at hand for Iberia and its Inquisition. The High Inquisitor is handling the Rhodes Island issue. Stay put and await the consequences while he and the chatty med doctor of yours talk it out. You know that your treatment may depend on their negotiation skills. As for the village chief, I understand that you have the right to arrest him, as he is a fugitive who has fled in the middle of an interrogation and has been sailing with the pirates. However, it is an inhumane treatment to arrest the rest of the villagers as well. Inhumane? This decision is well within the rights bestowed upon the Inquisition. They've lived for years right next to the highly suspicious Ager. The Inquisition must investigate the rest of them as well to verify whether they have committed any acts of treason against our laws. This isn't going anywhere, is it? Listen, they've been surviving for years upon years by the coast without the protection of the Inquisition, and that simply cannot make sense. Oh, I think I heard enough from you. Ain't it funny how you're blaming them for what's essentially a failure of your responsibilities? And now you roll up in here and go, they shouldn't be alive. I'm arresting them all. What are you saying? These people should all be dead or something? I am. There's no other way to cut it. People simply shouldn't be able to survive in a place like this. Not for this long. The Inquisitor's reply only seemed to fan Heathcliff's wrath as he lifted his bat and began striding forward. Ah, that's it. Last, if you ever so much as touch the tip of a single villager's hair. Please calm yourself, Heathcliff. But Honglu stepped in between them. Get your bloody hands off of me. I've had enough of her. Continuing to threaten her will cause something irrevocably bad to happen. I believe you know that yourself, Heathcliff. What do you suggest then? We're clearly not making any progress by trying to talk this out. Excuse me, Miss Inquisitor. What do you mean that people shouldn't be able to survive in a place like this? I mean it, literally. Even by some miracle that they actually do survive, they should at least be suffering from endless hunger, struggling to their wits' ends at the inevitability of the calamity. But they look too healthy. But they're kind of starving, aren't they? The heck? Then shouldn't you be applauding them for managing to survive through so much hardship? I'm an Inquisitor. I'm not some crazy person on a power high who goes around accosting and arresting civilians of Iberia straight to the gallows, okay? I have more than enough probable cause to take them in for interrogation. It's just that I don't have the time or energy to explain every single one of them to you outsiders. I promise them a fair judgment, whichever way that may be, after a proper investigation. So stop it with this obstruction of justice. The Inquisitor brandished her rapier threateningly, her voice shaking with frustration. Dante, without the full picture of the circumstances, Faust advises against further antagonization of a local political authority. I agree with Faust. I get the feeling that she isn't the kind of heartless Inquisitor that goes around indiscriminately executing innocents like Miss Mares told us about earlier. I don't think she's anything like the Inquisitors of N-Corp we saw back at... I can't even... They were right, we don't have the full picture of the circumstances. Getting in the way of an Inquisitor, who was clearly a rather significant political entity in the area, was most likely a bad idea. It isn't the Inquisitor's job to answer your questions. Continue to obstruct me, then, as the standoff was showing no signs of ending. Miss Mares? I can answer your questions, so for now let's do as the Inquisitor says. Mares, who had been hiding behind us ever since we returned to the village, suddenly stepped forward. Yet what of thy grandfather and the villagers? It's alright, I'm sure this is happening only because the Inquisitor doesn't know. What do you mean, you'll answer the questions? About the profound silence. Mare's response... Oh, that was a bit too fast. Mare's response to Otis was but a single concept. I didn't quite grasp its significance, but it seemed to surprise the Inquisitor. That's what they call the calamity that destroyed Iberia. Decades ago, a great wave ravaged through Iberia. It wasn't long before the seaborns carried by the wave diminished Iberia's brilliant civilization to this. The waves, the profound silence, then must have reduced the village to its current state as well. Is there any reason for calling it profound silence? It doesn't seem to be the most appropriate moniker for a calamity like that. It's because the sea went dead silent before the waves came. The silence then claimed ships out at sea, then the cities of Iberia, and then the Iberians. No one could say a word in the face of inevitable calamity. What are you? No average Iberian citizen should be privy to any of the information you're sharing. And the Church of the Deep is really capitalizing on the pandemonium that followed the profound silence. They pretend to be eager from the sea, delude the citizenry of Iberia, and are sowing chaos in their lands. So that's why they're arresting the Ager left and right. I can see the thought process, but, huh? So, it's understandable why the Inquisitor would want to arrest us. Dante, this isn't good. Showing what seems to be some kind of taboo-like thing for the Inquisition. The Inquisitor wordlessly stared at Mares. Her eyes were filled with traces of anger and confusion, but she's afraid. There was fear in the face of a threat. Not fear of the terrified, no, it's a fear of somebody who's suddenly confronted with something they must destroy. The High Inquisitor once told me, should I come across an Ager who knows too much, there's a sliver of a chance they may be of assistance to Iberia. Cease, thou art threatening the innocent with thy brandishing of the firearm. But most of them are seduced by the allure of the sea. Thus they are with little doubt our foes. I've got a bad feeling about this. Get out of my way, outsider. Final warning. Run. Quick on the uptake as always. Rodia slung Mares over her shoulder and ran past the villagers, while the sinners scattered in all directions to distract the Inquisitor. The Inquisitor draws her firearm, and in the midst of all that action, Don Quixote rushed towards the Inquisitor without a moment's hesitation. Don Quixote, thou shalt go no further. I, a fixer of justice, shan't abide by as thou persecute them. Forsooth, 'tis a battle delayed, not avoided. This clash is inevitable. In that moment of crisis, seconds before this could be irrevocably make us a new enemy. Monster. A large obsidian crystallization in the shape of a monster burst forth between the two of them. Yeah, who is it this time? That's enough meaningless bickering. I'm really liking these sprites. I saw like a comparison between the original game and their current like little drawn sprites in Limbus. I think I actually like the ones in Limbus more. But that's just because I like the art style in general of this artist. Dr. Calcit. Do you know her? Yes, she's Dr. Calcit, Rose Island Medical Department's. Ah, Dr. Calcit, behind you. Shoot first, talk later, is it? The negotiations are over. From this moment onward, Rhodes Island is now operating within legal capacity on Iberian territory under the Inquisition's authorization. The Inquisitor fired a blast of that firearm-looking weapon, but the monster summoned by Calcit managed to deflect it. And the cannonball thrown from the weapon punched clean through the wall of the building we stayed the night in, before punching through several other buildings behind it. That was enough to instantly freeze the sinners and the villagers on the spot. That penetrated a building. Though their walls may be weaker than the headstander of what counts as a building's exterior wall, to punch through so many is. What a precise point it makes. Now is not the time to stand around impressed. It is a violation of a taboo to have that much penetrative power in a firearm. We're not in the city. Don't lose your heads over this. Taboos don't apply here. My head knows that to be true, yet my heart finds it difficult to be still. That's enough of that discussion for now. It is advisable that we carefully observe and grasp the situation at hand instead of deliberating on a taboo of the jurisdiction of which does not reach this far. Yeah, so the situation's gotten slightly better, right? If she's Amiya's friend, she's our ally. Besides, we got some super powerful looking prosthetic gear looking thing too. Is its name literally just Monster? Is that what you think? I apologize for the disappointment. I am not on anyone's side. In other words, your particular denomination, ally, might not be entirely correct. However, if I must define my allegiance, then let me inform you that the closest label would be that I am Inquisitor Irene's ally. Dr. Calcit. Amiya, outsiders, as much as you would like to deny it, the Inquisitor's suspicions are true. While it can be said the process by which she reached that conclusion was unfair, the conclusion itself is without a doubt correct. So they're actually connected to the Church of the Deep. That is one way to put it. To be more precise, they aren't connected to the Church of the Deep. They are the Church of the Deep. Perhaps the village itself is a dilapidated church of their congregation. Our village a church? Just look at our buildings. Where would we even congregate? Your thoughts, Faust? There are not many resources by which we may analyze the decision. However, the fact that Amiya's colleagues have made the same argument as the Inquisitor brings the accused's defense into question. Yet, I can hardly believe that young Maris is lying to us. Hold on, you've been chatting plenty with that Inquisition or whatever. How do we know you weren't aligned with them the whole time? I see, you really are all entirely in the dark. An expected outcome, given that all of you may be from a place far beyond the dimensional door. As fortune should have it, there is no need for you to know it anyway. The truth is truth, unchanging without the acceptance from an errant group of outsiders. Besides, soon... I'm sorry, it seems that we've mirrored you in this trouble. Ah, say no such thing. We shall not abide by one such injustice is perpetrated before our eyes. The village has already been identified by the Inquisition, and the Inquisition has even brought in an ally. It seems quite unlikely that the word shall resolve this conflict. But we promise you, we will take responsibility for what is done. We have benefited far too much from your warmth and kindness not to do so. The village chief, with a benevolent look, pulls a dagger from his cloth. And I immediately knew what Calcit was about to say. Take responsibility? You don't have to go that far. Yeah. Blimey. We're not departing for the sea, yet we cannot bring ourselves to leave you here. I must ask you to join us for this journey. Become our bloodkin. What are you doing? Stop! The unanticipated, or perhaps I was simply in denial of the rising dread, ambush did not end there. Damn it, the Inquisitor was right. Well, they're just gonna get the nastiest surprise of their life. The villagers suddenly began shanking the sinners with weapons they had concealed in their clothes. And it seems they were coming for me as well. Mia, on your left! Amiya materialized a black ribbon-like apparition, carrying away the dagger, flying in my direction. But another villager rushed in, taking advantage of the opening. The charging villager's back made a visceral, crunchy noise. Someone flung them away. Didn't mean to be this late. Scotty, let me catch you up to speed. I know the situation. The fishy smell was what I went to investigate earlier. What about the sinners? Unlike Amiya and I, who managed to survive the initial ambush, the sinners weren't doing too well. At least we had a silver lining in that the Inquisitor and Cal's quick understanding of the situation, and the subsequent retaliation led the villagers away from the sinners. How? I didn't notice any hostility or aggression. One odd thing to say, why we hold any animosity against you, why would we intend to kill you? We are not trying to hurt you, we are simply trying to give you a form better suited for the sea, until we are obstructed. I apologize for our unfamiliarity has caused you trouble, Inquisitor. I won't make a big stink about what happened. What's truly unforgivable is that the heretics tried to take advantage of the ignorance of outsiders to flee the Inquisition. And even if you are outsiders, any lives lost on Iberian soil are my responsibility. It's my fault. I'm sorry it came to this. Wait, lives lost? We're still alive, you know. We can shake off a stab wound like... This is most unfortunate, outsider. Huh? What? Your friends are either going to die or turn into seaborns. The daggers that stabbed them were laced with the flesh of sea terrors. Once that happens, most die, and the survivors become overwritten by their cells, becoming nothing more than another sea monster. What? That's not a very big deal? Everyone's acting like this was it for the sinners, but... Hey, I should be able to deal this by turning back the clock. It's not that bad. Hopefully. My only concern is that I didn't know what would happen if I tried to bring them back after they've been fully transformed into seaborns. Golden Bow helped deal with the whale's palification effects, but I had no idea how it would interact with seaborn transformations. We should just kill them before they turn. I know this must be very hard for you, but... What? Sorry to bother with you, but can you kill my friends? And preferably in the least painful way, you know? Oh, sorry. Was that last part kind of too much to ask? Oh my gosh. Add context. Add context, this is hilarious. Wait, don't give up already. If we bring them back to Rhodes Island, we should be able to do something to help them. How should I explain this? Guys, can you? Dante, I know what you mean, but I just can't right now. My strength has rapidly deteriorated since the ambush. It's kind of tingly too, so maybe they use some kind of paralytic cocktail? Just trust me this one time. I can assure you that I'm not just giving up on them. But, Amiya, can you understand the outsider's speech? Yes, it's just that they're making a pretty difficult request. They want me to kill all their friends before they transform into seaborns. Okay. And before we even knew it, Scotty had already decapitated the sinners, none of whom resisted. Amiya seemed to have been taken aback by how fast Scotty jumped into action. What are you doing? Scotty, don't let this spook you. This is just how we roll. The clock turns. The decapitated head creep towards the headless torsos, connecting with the threads of blood. The sensation is that of reversal. It feels as though the sinners and I are severed from the rest of the world, rewinding in isolation. Is this rewinding us going back in time, or are we defining the concept itself? This pain is multifold worse than the sensation of a straightforward decapitation. The pain is in the heart. As the current death reverses, I sense a deep, crushing isolation. Their wounds are disappearing. Resurrection, metempsychosis, or time reversal. Puzzling. I have no knowledge with which to interpret this technology. The cause seems to be that the pain is transferred to the one who rewinds. But that seems too small a price for such great power, though the discussion of whether this can be categorized as power should be explored later. I couldn't stop shaking. All my limbs were trembling from the icy solitude. Still, I took a moment to collect myself and ordered the sinners. I don't know just what they were thinking, but this is actually a really cool cinematic. I actually want to, have this as a thumbnail. We should be able to find out once we take them down. You dare deceive the executive manager and try to take their life? Prepare thyself, for thou shalt now pay the price for making mockery of justice. Yeah, we can't just let this slide, you know? How unfortunate. I had high hopes for that you would all become fine bloodkins. Well, time to murder them. As foretold in the prophecy.
저희에게도 이런 힘을 베풀어 주시다니 마음씨가 넓은 분이실까요? 아, 실수로 주셨더라도 상관없어요. 한 번 베푼 이상 낙장 불입이랍니다.
일기당천. 모든 것에 견뎠어.
너희는 잘해낼 거야. 언제나 그랬듯이.
실패할 수도 있겠지. 언제나 그랬듯이.
시비수에게 명한다. 이 앞에 숨쉬는 자 누구 하나 사료를 보내지 마라. 토끼를 본다. 저 해충들을 도려내라.
제압 패치에게 맞는 정상적인 공격이야.
묘요.
페르트 나라도 그랬을 거야.
길이야.
감각을 한 것 가지고 굳이 칭찬할 필요 없어.
제압 효과가 굉장히 좋았어. 기록적인 피해량인 것 같아.
톡! 톡!
정말 잘했어. 응? 악당들을 죽여야지만 정의가 존재할 수 있는 법인데 불쌍하게 느낄 필요는 없지 않아?
목을 콱 물어버리자고.
고작 이 정도 탕류의 허구이나 넌 푸름을 틔울 수도
방금
없겠구나.
멋졌어. 너희들의 사랑의 힘이, 빛의 힘이
이 몸을
저
온당히
어둡고 악한
바라시네.
아르카나들을 뒤흔들었어.
기꺼이
이대로면 승리도
죄를
시간 문제겠지?
받아들이나이다.
그쪽 방향이 아닐 텐데.
혈염도 바로. 아, 여기선 이런 공격이 잘 먹히는군요.
뭐야 이 수치는? 아까 어떤 직원이 제압 개체에 한 번에 입힌 피해량이야. 잠깐! 진짜? 왜 부서팀장을 안 달아줬지?
자, 어느 쪽일지 잘 생각해보라고.
훌륭하군요.
말로 받았다. 저 해초들을 도려내.
물 넘고 꺾고 제철. 단테는
오여,
매번 불안한 발상을 떠올리시네요.
길을 열어. 정작 이 정도 탕류의 허덕이나.
하나 넘고 물 넘고 꺾고 제철.
차포잡이라 예상한 것보다 움직임이 더 좋구나.
깔끔하게 몰았군.
있잖아. 사실 마법 소녀들은 항상 인력난에 시달리거든. 너희만 괜찮다면 혹시 우리를 도와서... 아니야. 그건 선택의 순간이 필요하니까.
발톱을
내가
걸어.
정할 순 없겠네. 아쉽다. 그치?
친히 목을 떨궈주마. 넌 푸름을 틔울 수도 없겠구나.
빈틈투성이네. 뭐야 이 수치는? 아까
자,
어떤 직원이
어느
제압
쪽일지
개체에 한 번에
잘
입힌 피해량이야.
생각해보라고.
잠깐! 진짜? 왜 부서팀장을 안 달아줬지?
넌 푸름을 틔울 수도 없겠구나.
이제야 회사가 정상으로
Get
돌아갔네.
absolutely
이번
destroyed.
제압은 끝이야. 너희들도 고생 많았어. 티페리트, 너도. 언젠가 우리
Wait, I think they're heading to. He's running himself into a dead end. Are they seeking refuge at sea? Wait, that's where the ship is. That's where they're headed. They're trying to board the vessel masses. Wait, but we never told them the ship was repaired, so how? Ain't it obvious the whole village is in on it? It ain't a surprise they'd send someone to spy on us, or they know a way to get the ship floating even in its broken state. Vessel Masas? Vessel Rebellion de la Masas. That ship is moored at a port in that direction. Wait, it can't be. Irene, who was preoccupied with the battle, the rest of the followers of the Church of the Deep who were in hiding, quickly gave chase. But Fabius and the villagers were already aboard the repaired ship, slowly departing the harbor with a horde of sea terrorists between us and them. How can a vessel that size become operational this fast? The exterior, the name. It must have been constructed during the golden age of Iberia. But how are we supposed to chase that? What if we built a raft and rowed after them? Mate, come on. Sea's full of sea terrors. It won't get very far before it sinks. Do you see something, Amiya? You keep looking in that direction. Oh. The vessel masses soon disappeared into the mist, and the village was left with nary a sign of people ever having been there, as though this getaway had all been premeditated. Leaving only mares. Damn it, can't we just take any ship to go after it? It's a research vessel, it can't possibly be very fast. This will be difficult. Even if it's a research vessel, I'm sure it was constructed during the golden age of Iberia. No average ship can keep up with it. Which is a problem because I doubt we have any ship that can travel at the same speed. We only have a few small vessels left, which are all anchored too far from this location to be feasible options. Do we have any recourse? No, not unless we can identify the exact location of the vessel. Which is the real problem. We can find ourselves a ship to go after them, yes, but most eyes of Iberia, the lighthouses, were lost during the profound silence. Wait, when you say most, do you mean there's some left? Just one as far as I know. The one in Grand Faro, but that lighthouse cannot be used at this moment. There's another. There's a lighthouse you can use. Really? Are you really going to give one of the villagers the benefit of the doubt? Yet young Skadi hath confirmed her to be safe. All I confirmed is whether she is a seaborn or not. Can't know if she's a cultist. 'Tis true, yet. Once we saw Maris was left all on her own, we decided to have her accompany us at all times to keep her within Irene's eyeshot. We couldn't possibly blame her for what happened, given Skadi's confirmation that she doesn't have anything to do with the sea monsters. Besides, they'd all left her behind. But Irene still seemed to harbor some suspicion. The problem with the Aegir is that she simply knows too much. Where could she possibly have gained access to all this information? See, she can't even answer that question. But let's think about it this way. What if we were to ask her what we don't know? The location of that lighthouse, for example. They're ticking rapidly. What did they say? Dante says we should approach it differently and ask her what we don't know, like the location of the lighthouse. That seems like a reasonable suggestion to me, or does the Inquisitor have an alternative solution to this conundrum? No, but... Fine, let's hear it. I won't interrogate you about how you have access to things that even us Inquisitors don't know, at least not right now. Faro Morato, Dead Lighthouse. Dead Lighthouse, that's our village name. Somewhere a little ways off from the coastline, there's an intact eye of Iberia on the sea, though it was almost destroyed when the profound silence swept through. Off the coastline. Is it not connected to the land? I think it used to be, until it sank. We should be able to procure ourselves enough wooden material from the village to build a raft. Is it near enough for a raft to be the means of access? The weather's not great today, but it should do. It's not very far from the coast. Even you're going to trust the Aegir? I don't see why I shouldn't. I understand that Iberian mistrust of the Aegir is quite profound, yet such sentiment is hollow to the rest of us. Inquisitor Irene, what do you feel when you saw the Rose Island operator? If you're talking about the... I just want to say cactus. Nothing in particular, other than a slight annoyance when she accused me of being inhumane. So you didn't harbor any hostility nor disgust, not that you would have felt any sense of sympathy or empathy either. I thought, I've no history of feelings for or against Aegir. Such must be the same for the outsiders. What's she on about? She is conveying that in matters in regards to mares, our opinions are more objective than Irene's. Finding the vessel Fabius commandeered will be to the benefit of all. Limbus Company will gain an opportunity to return to the city via the Dimensional Door, while Rose Island will have a chance to study it at closer proximity. And the Inquisition will gain possession of the vessel in which the technology from Iberian Golden Age is contained. What, you're just going to hand that over to the Inquisition? Why should we covet what was once Iberia's? While there certainly are aspects to that vessel that draw interest, I already have a state-of-the-art masterpiece known as Mephistopheles. As long as that can be guaranteed, I see no reason to refuse. Irene eventually agreed to put her trust in mares. We are in luck, Executive Manager. It is quite fortunate Our interests aligned exactly with that of the first strangers we encountered in a strange land. Lucky is right. Imagine if we were back in the city. It would have taken them like 4 free distortion hunts for us to come to this agreement. Sorry about having to saddle with you with this, Mares. Please lead us to that lighthouse. Okay, happily. So when you said almost destroyed, how almost destroyed is it? I heard that the light faded from the lighthouse a long time ago, but the shape still stands. At least it was when I saw it a few months ago. If the lighthouse is in an inoperable state, we're going to need an expert technician to get it back in working order. The technology it's based on is completely divorced from the popular application of Originium technology, so I doubt there's anyone out there who can work it any more than... You needn't worry about that. Here, we have an engineer and a researcher who are all geniuses, even among those in the city, so we should be able to manage most mechanical failures. Today is just revelation after revelation, huh? Is it Yi Sang and, Faust? Probably. They got this. I can vouch for Limbus Company's skills. I can also work on simpler tasks. I've learned a thing or two helping out Gramps. Stuff about the lighthouse or various tech stuff. Well, then we should all head to the lighthouse together? No, I'll be leaving the group for a moment. Amiya will accompany you instead. What, after all that you're just going off on your own? Yes, to join the doctor. It is imperative for the successful execution of this mission. Of course that hinges on Amiya and Scotty remaining behind here to assist the rest of you. Thus, I will leave it to the rest of you to take the Eye of Iberia, the lighthouse, back. What do you mean by take back the lighthouse? We're gonna go after a wave of Seaborns. If there's someone or something out there that's taken over the lighthouse called the Eye of Iberia. A likely oh my gosh. Amiya, what did the manager of Limbus Company say? They're asking if the lighthouse has been taken over by something. Not bad intuition. Yes, there's a high likelihood that the structure has already been overrun by sea terrors. I don't know about overrun, but I've encountered them a few times when we approached it too closely. Normally, this is hardly enough personnel to attempt a raid on the lighthouse, but... Answer me this. Are there any limitations to their revival? There are no restrictions as long as Dante, the manager, survives. However, do note that battle efficiency depreciates with prolonged battle due to mounting mental stress on the manager. No need to change the plan then. Amiya used this communicator to alert me as soon as you were able to identify the coordinates of the vessel from the lighthouse. If luck would have it, we should be able to reduce the time it takes to complete the retrieval mission. Okay, as long as you're not taking everyone with you. If it's just her who's leaving, then go ahead. I think we should be fine too. Then let us commence mission. Vessel masses retrieval. Righto, step 1 of the plans the raft, right? Let's get on with it. It's done, let's go. Why are you looking at us like that? Is there something bothering you? Must you ask, just how proactive and quick she is to jump to action certainly lives up to the image of an employee working for a large corporation. Thanks, so it is for the charitable view, I guess. Thanks to Scotty, who had already finished the first step of the plan, we were able to move on to step 2 immediately. After a while of carefully sailing on Scotty's raft along the coastline cliffs, a gargantuan shrouded lighthouse emerged from the thick mist. Eye of Iberia. Even in its dilapidated, ruined state, touches that are once monumental and sensitive are apparent on the exterior construction of the lighthouse. Some even call the lighthouses guardians of Iberia. It retains the grandeur of the era as it was built during its golden age. You really know everything, don't you? But as she said, but now these lighthouses are nothing but graveyards of countless inquisitors and soldiers of the Penal Battalion. No one who's attempted to retrieve a lighthouse has ever survived the expedition. Can you please not say scary stuff like that, Miss Irene? We are literally about to walk into one. Don't you ever quit chirping? What are you, a foul beast? Stop yapping in my ear. Why is this one such a coward unlike the rest of you outsiders? Ouch. I'm not a coward, I'm just voicing my... She did just say some pretty concerning stuff. How long do you think the repairs will take? Its exterior is rather heavily damaged. However, from what is visible from the outside, its interior is still quite intact. With Miss Faust's expertise, it should not take very long. Yi Sang suggested with a smile, but Faust maintained her silence for the entire journey to the lighthouse, then said something pretty concerning in response. Of course, my wit remains unmarred even in such uncertainties. The currents are pretty wild. Someone's going to have to stay behind to keep an eye on the raft. We can't just leave it here unattended, but I don't know if I can carry it either. I'll stay here and protect the ship. You sure you can handle this alone? I know you're strong. But maybe 1 or 2 more people should stay behind just in case? No, don't need them. Sea terrors will swarm the islet if I go with you anyway. So this has nothing to do with you. So what she's trying to say is that she's worried about you not having enough people to take on the lighthouse when she can handle this area alone, which is why she is okay with staying behind alone. Huh, thanks for explaining. Some people just can't help but hop through an extra hoop, I guess. Well then, let's trust her. We'll be back, Scotty. Luckily, we didn't run into any sea terrors on our way to the lighthouse gates. The problem was the gates were bound shut by strange blue tissues. Reminds me of that L-Corp branch back at U-Corp, the one that was white. I don't think I can do anything to force it open myself, so... Guys, can you pry open this door? Wait, and move over. I'll pull from the right side, you grab from the left, and... We'll all pull together at 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, huh? Something's off here. What are you doing? The door is firmly secured in place. This flesh tissue generates almost as soon as it is torn. Perhaps you'll need to tap into a wilder form of art to get this open. Well, what now? We can go through the side of the building that's open, maybe? This strange flesh tissue is growing on the gates of its sea terror. It reacts to the lamp, but it's grown too much to be affected by it in any meaningful capacity. Scotty might be able to open this door with her incredible strength, but... Should I go fetch her? But I think she's already fighting off sea terrors from sinking the raft. So we're all on our own. Maybe there's an identity card or ego I could use to get through this. So which one? Huh? Just as I was pondering a familiar question, a faint black glow came into view, then devoured my sight. It's no intuition or inspiration. It's different from the sudden flashes of realization. And it's not the star of that day. I think it's not the star of that day that I think of from time to time. It's not the horrible door that I see every time I turn the clock either. Oh, we're gonna get in-lore egos from the collab. Interesting. The formless and black space in which I am not permitted to see. A faint noise, a whisper cuts through it. And through that opening I see a light. I reach out to the opening and see Scotty, born from a very, very warm gaze. Scotty? Powerful imagery crashes onto me like the waves. Scotty, the staggering dancer wielding a blade. Scotty, who flaunts her flowing locks. And Scotty, the singer humming in a low voice. Beyond the fringes of cognition, Scotty's existence has become engraved. The singer who can wrestle control of this oceanic tidal power is... Dante, are you alright? I'm good, and I don't think we'll need to send for Scotty. What do you mean? Hey Ishmael, I've never used this ego before, but I need you to trust me and accept it. What, an ego? I nod quietly. Well, it's not like we ever have to practice run with those ego, whatever it is. Seems to me our managers found a solution. Okay. So are we gonna get, like, the actual sprite in the story? I think that'd be really cool if we started adding, like, IDs and sprites as, like, a canonical use during this story. I think that'd be really cool. But, like, probably just ego. Probably not the identity. I feel like it would, if you're using, like, the seasonal ID, it could, like, really be awkward. Her confusion is short-lived. She lets out a carefree laughter before stepping forward, boldly twirling her mace once. I mean, what's worse that could happen? Get corroded?
한눈 팔지 마세요. 웬만한 당신에게 파도는 반드시 밀려올 테니.
What, cracks on the lighthouse are growing? I think she destroyed the door instead of opening it. Sorry, I didn't think it'd be this strong. The door is open. What are we waiting for? No, I mean, what just was the part where you... What, the part where I suddenly changed into a different outfit and equipped a different personality? Yes, that is... that is most fascinating. That an ego could be drawn here in lieu of the mirror of Mephistopheles. I think I connected to Amiya's subconscious mind. There was a strange, unfamiliar light, and I saw Amiya's emotions attached to her memories and experiences, so I just reached out to them. My subconscious mind? I just had this feeling that it would work. Sorry about peering in without asking first. But I didn't see anything other than the things about Scotty. All I needed were memories and emotions that could be used to understand the being that is Scotty. It's okay, I also have experience with gaining power from others' memories and emotions to overcome difficult situations. Interesting. Maybe that's how you were able to draw something from me as well, Dante. That is the most appropriate assumption, especially in a situation in which delving into its principles is impossible. So that's called ego. Verily, of course, Limbus Company's ego is quite distinguished from the other kinds of ego, which are bloomed from within oneself. That is enough. No further information is to be divulged to outsiders. Yet it matters not whether young Maris and young Amiya learn of this. I agree with that fool this time. The Inquisitor, using an artillery projectile that penetrates the outer wall, several of them in fact, of a building, and the head did not pursue her following that breach of a taboo. This is clearly not the city. Ain't it better to just let her talk her heart out than to hear her moan and whine about not being able to say anything? I am convinced. Do as you will then. Faust's reply almost sounded like sulking, but Don Quixote immediately began to expound upon ego to Irene and Maris anyway. But everyone was too busy to pay attention to her as the wet slithering noise from a distance had put everyone on edge. Can we do that later? We've got some cleaning up to do. So there were more sea terrors past the door. I think any sea terrors from the sea are all converging around Scotty, which means our only roadblocks are sea terrors still lingering around the lighthouse. Let's go. Let's take this lighthouse back.
날개를 펼치고 발톱을 걸어.
훌륭하군요. 제압 효과가 굉장히 좋았어. 기록적인 피해량인 것 같아.
혈액도 봐라. 모든 것에 견뎠어.
그만둘 생각이 없어 보이네요. 저분이 포기하지 않는 건 악에 바친 고집 때문일까요? 아니면 차마 내려놓을 수 없는 자신만의 이유 때문일까요?
목을 콱 물어버리자고.
시비수에게 명한다. 이 앞에 숨쉬는 자 누구 하나 살려보지 마라. 진 목을 떨궈주마. 고작 이 정도 탕류의 허덕이나 토끼를 보내라. 넌 푸름을 저 해충들을 도려내라. 묘야.
너희들의 사랑이
길을 열어라. 넌 푸름을 틔울
저
수도
어둡고
없겠고.
악한 아르카나들을 뒤흔들었어.
예상한 것보다 움직임이 더
그러면
좋구나.
승리도 시간 문제겠지?
이건 예상 못했는 깔끔하게 물었군.
있잖아. 사실 마법 소녀들은 항상 인력난에 시달리거든. 너희만 괜찮다면 혹시 우리를 도와서... 아니야. 그건 선택의 순간이 필요하니까. 내가 정할 순 없겠네. 아쉽다. 그치?
날개를 펼치고 발톱을 걸어. 진 목을 떨궈주마. 넌 푸름을 틔울 수도 없겠구나. 마음 놓고 열어젖히고.
다들 첫 여정을 시작했을 때보다
어디로?
정말 강해지셨네요. 매일 보아왔는데도 지금은 감회가 새로워요.
불가 위약 막아내지 못하게.
고작 이 정도 탕류의 허덕이나. 고작 이 정도 탕류의 허덕이나. 날개를 펼치고 발톱을 걸어.
훌륭하군요.
말로 바랍니다.
아, 여기선 이런
조련해.
문제로 잘 먹히는군요.
길을 열어라.
옳다.
넘고.
와, 봤어요,
이거면
단테님?
충분해. 너한테
돌아오면 칭찬을 잔뜩
알겠지만.
해주셔야겠는걸요?
겹겹의
있잖아.
중문.
사실
뚫어보이겠어.
마법소녀들은 항상 인력난에 시달리거든. 너희만 괜찮다면 혹시 우리를 도와서... 아니야. 그건 선택의 순간이 필요하니까. 내가 정할 순 없겠네. 아쉽다. 그치?
목을 떨궈주마. 혈염도 바로. 무한터라.
해냈구나. 나라도 그랬을 거야. 있잖아. 사실 마법 소녀들은 항상 인력난에 시달리거든. 너희만 괜찮다면 혹시 우리를 도와서... 아니야. 그건 선택의 순간이 필요하니까. 내가 정할 순 없겠네. 아쉽다. 그치?
일기당천. 목을 떨궈주마. 넌 푸름을 틔울 수도 없긴. 넌 푸름을 틔울 수도 없겠구나.
깨우치시게.
깔끔하게 물었군. 날개를 펼치고 발톱을 걸어. 고작 이 정도 탕류의 허덕이나.
제압 개체에게 맞는 정상적인 공격이야.
악당 퇴치
잘했어.
성공!